Shana Tova. I love growing unusual plants. I've got a bunch of weird stuff in the garden, like kiwis and pineapple plants and hops. But one of my favorites is my pomegranate bush. Mine's on the smaller side, and of course, this year of all years, this is what I got. Figures, right? Especially this year, a harvest like this seemed fitting. Some evil wee beastie decided to have at it and terrorize the biggest, best, most ripe, and beautiful pomegranate. The pomegranate that I had been watching slowly grow for months. The pomegranate that was giving me hope in life. I was so excited. This holiday season, of course, my excitement, my disappointment, and even the fruit itself made me think. There are two critical times for plants that bear fruit. And those are the plant's two real liminal moments. The times at which the plant is between stages, between chapters of its life. Planting is one, ripening is the other. Clearly, planting is a liminal moment, one of those moments that is between states of being, between identities, if you will. Planting is where a seed transforms into an actual plant. It's vulnerable, it's fragile, and in many ways it is filled with hope. Working hard to live that hope literally to fruition. The other liminal moment for a plant is just before harvest. It's the time when the plant is also working hard, putting nearly all its energy into creating new life. Its guard is down and its focus is entirely on that fruit. Another moment of hope and promise, and again, liminal period of space and time. It's a moment in which transformation is underway. These moments are filled with possibility, stress, transformation, trepidation. Liminal moments really are times of alchemy. They transform one thing into another, a seed into a plant's energy into fruit. And liminal moments in our own lives do likewise to and for us, changing us from one state to another. And they're tough, they're intense, sometimes they're filled with fear, other times they feel as if they are ripe with rebirth. These past months have felt like one giant liminal moment, one long and still ongoing time of difficulty, of in-between states, neither here nor there. We often mark liminal moments with ritual. Those rituals serve as lived metaphors for walking us through a transformation. You have a baby, and then there's a bris or a naming, and just like that, your baby is Jewish. You fall in love, there's a wedding. And just like that, you're no longer single, and your life and identity is changed. Each liminal moment is transformational, and it heralds the beginning of a new chapter of life. So after this very prolonged liminal moment, this one we find ourselves living in right now, what are we going to become? What new chapter is going to begin? Yom Kippur is a ritualized day that caps off a month of introspection. We go within, we reflect, and we work on ourselves to make ourselves better. And all of that enables us to reach this day and this moment in which our liturgy doesn't focus on I or me or you. It's not really singular, it's plural. Its central focus is on we, us. Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, requires us to make good as individuals so that we are ready to make good as a group. It's a transformational day. It is a day that spiritually and ritually ends the liminal moment of the High Holy Days. This year of all years, however, I don't think that it's enough to emerge from this day feeling clean and renewed. It doesn't feel like it's enough to read words and in doing so atone for our spiritual community. We just can't check the box and move on this time. It feels like something more is needed and called for. Early this spring, I watched my pomegranate bloom and I felt hope. As it grew, I sat back and I watched the bloom become fruit. I relaxed and I enjoyed watching the fruit grow and get bigger and bigger, and I went about my business. Eventually, I noticed that the fruit was ripening and getting still bigger, and I very passively sat back and watched as it got ready to pick. And then suddenly, just like that, things took a turn. That wee beastie left it all ruined. And when I picked up that ruined pomegranate, I noticed that while I had been watching from the sidelines, that little critter had not. Whatever it was that was gnawing, I found little bites and scratches that had been healing over time on the underside of the pomegranate, the part I couldn't see. While I stood by and watched it grow, that little critter had destroyed my fruit and been nipping into it. Tiny little bites that the fruit healed as best it could added up over those months. The squirrel, the critter, whatever it was hard at work, testing things out and biding his time until the pomegranate was perfectly ripe. I think I should have put a net over the bush. If I'm just going to be honest, I clearly should have taken a more active role in the pomegranate's care. But fruit aside, in this season, the cleansing nature of Yom Kippur brings me hope. Its liturgy is not the most uplifting thing in life. I get that. However, at the end, I'm generally left feeling lighter and spiritually brighter, and I'm hopeful that I can live my life just a bit better than before. And putting all this together, the pomegranate, Yom Kippur, this season, this liminal moment, putting all this together is where I think I really learned my lesson. Because that's the thing about hope. It is not passive. Just like I shouldn't have sat on the sidelines and expected my pomegranate to be perfect, we can't sit on the sidelines and truly become actually hopeful. You can watch something and then feel good about it. Seeing something might remind you that there is goodness in the world, but actual hope must spark action, or else it's little more than a passing fancy. Hope is a process. It is a seed that can be planted, but then it needs to be cultivated in order to truly come to fruition. This Yom Kippur, we have a monumental, hope-producing task before us, and therein we have a decision to make. Do we sit idly by, reading and reciting words, breaking our fast, and then going back to our lives as they have been? Or do we dig deep within ourselves, atoning for and taking responsibility for those wrongs we and those around us have done, and then harnessing Yom Kippur to transform that atonement into hope, holy and sacred hope that we can carry with us from this day forth, a hope that shines through us so that we can be a light unto ourselves, each other, and indeed to the nations. A hope that can be the transformative engine in this most bizarre liminal state we find ourselves living in. On this Yom Kippur, we're faced with the fact that our future is entirely up to us. It is a day of awe because it is so very ripe for the picking. It is transformational if you will it to be. Some days after finding my original pomegranate, I noticed a glimmer of color from the back of the bush. I reached through the bush's tangled branches and thorns, because yes, they do have thorns, and I found these. May this future be truly filled with hope. May our liturgy be the engine of our choices. May it plant the seeds of hope within us. And may we all have the strength to cultivate and see that hope come to fruition, so that one day soon, this world can push back its tangled branches, push through its thorns, and harvest a life that is truly sweet and tender. Shana Tova, v'gamar chatima tova. May you have a good new year, and may you ever be inscribed for goodness.